Our next topic under infrastructure is petroleum and natural gas, which is again a very important sector under infrastructure. Again in this topic also there are two very important schemes, PAHAL scheme as well as Ujjwala scheme. We will discuss it. So before going to those schemes, we will see that what survey talks about this petroleum and natural gas. Now, so in petroleum and natural gas, two things are there. In petroleum generally we look into two factors. One is how the petrol or natural gas is, whether it is produced in India or we are imported. Okay, if you look into the data, around 2/3 of our petroleum products are being imported and the rest is domestically produced. So the data talks about, try to understand that the petroleum we have to, we mainly imports or we get crude oil. Okay, so we mainly imports crude oil and we have such a good refining capacity. We refine it, we use it for our domestic purposes, and then we the surplus we export it back to many countries, including West Asian countries, where they don't have, even though they have crude oil, West Asian countries, even though they have crude oil, surplus crude oil, they don't have refining capacity. So if we even export these refined oil or refined petroleum products to these countries. So that background you keep in mind. Now regarding the crude oil production in India, we are talking, the survey talks about not about import, the crude oil production in India. In 2016-17, the target was 36 million metric ton to produce, and we have achieved 97% of the target. That is, the target was 37 metric million ton, and we have achieved 36 million metric ton, which is 97% of the target. So this is regarding the crude oil production. So crude oil production in 2016-17 is somewhere around 36 million metric ton. And regarding natural gas production, it is the target was 34.1 billion cubic meter. Natural gas is measured in billion cubic meter. So the target was 34.1 and the actual production was 31.9 billion cubic meter, and the approximate target we achieved is 93.5. So these are facts, not that important for you, but just have an idea approximately how much natural gas or crude oil is produced in India. So it is coming around 36 million metric ton of crude oil is produced in India, and approximately 32 billion cubic meter of natural gas is produced in India. That keep in mind. Okay. Now the survey says that why there is shortfall in production for both, for crude oil. So if you look into the target of crude oil and natural gas, in both the cases there is shortfall in production is there. So this shortfall in production, both for petroleum as well as natural gas, is mainly due to certain factors. So this can be a potential question. Okay, what are the reason for shortfall in petroleum production or natural gas production? One is that the production, the declining production from the old and marginal fields. So the old fields or marginal fields production is declining. So that is one of the reason for it. Then second is delay in completion of some projects in the western offshore. Okay, western offshore is one of the productive petroleum production area. So there many projects is being delayed. So that is another reason. And final reason is many unplanned shutdown of wells or processing plants or pipelines. So these are the three factors which have resulted in shortfall in production. Just have an idea. This is an important point. Now regarding India's refining capacity, okay, I told you India is one of the second largest refiner in Asia after China. So India is the second largest refiner in India after China, and if you link it to the 8 core industries, you just link it to the significance of petroleum products or refined petroleum products in and which is having the highest weightage in index of, in the 8 core industries. So that you please link it. Okay, and regarding the refining capacity, India is the second. This survey says that India is having the second largest refinery capacity in Asia after China, and India is becoming a refinery hub because refining capacity of it means in India is more than its demand, domestic demand. So India is going to be a refinery hub for Asia as well as to the global market. Now, the country's refinery capacity have increased in 2016-17 from earlier it was 230 million metric ton per annum to 237 million metric per annum. And this increase in the refinery capacity is mainly because of two refineries. One is additional 1 million metric ton per annum have been added to HPCL Mumbai refinery, as well as BPCL Kochi refinery have expanded its capacity, and from earlier 9.5 million metric ton, it has increased its capacity to 15.5 million metric ton. So because of Kochi refinery as well as Mumbai HPCL refinery, we were able to increase the refinery capacity in 2016-17. So this is regarding refining capacity. Now, what are the new initiatives? This can be a potential question, okay. What are the new initiatives taken by the government to transform hydrocarbon sector in India? So what are the new initiatives? One is, this is a very important project being taken by the government through a government PSU, that is as part of transforming the hydrocarbon sector. In 2017, whenever any news related with hydrocarbon sector is mentioned, these points are repeated, okay. So what the government is trying to do is that government will completely map India's sedimentary basins in order to transform or in order to increase the exploration and production. We call it as ENP, exploration and production in the hydrocarbon sector. We need to have a complete data about the sedimentary basins in India. So the complete mapping of sedimentary basins will be done, and the survey says that it's a fact, very, very important fact. India has 26 sedimentary basins, and this 26 sedimentary basins covers an area of 3.14 million square kilometer spread over onshore, shallow water as well as in deep water. So India is having 26 sedimentary basin in onshore, shallow water and deep water, and which is having an area of 3.14 million square kilometer. And out of this 3.4 million square kilometer, this is another very important point, very, 48% of our total sedimentary basin does not have adequate geoscientific data. So out of our total sedimentary basins, 48% of our total sedimentary area, we don't have adequate geoscientific data. So if you don't have adequate scientific data, exploring as well as exploration and production of these sedimentary basin becomes very difficult. So once this complete mapping will be done, things will change and it will help in increasing exploration as well as production. Now, so why complete mapping of this India's 26 sedimentary basins? It will help future exploration and production activities. It will get an appraisal of all unappraised areas which have been approved, and it will also be instrumental in increasing investment. There will be greater investment with the complete mapping, especially in domestic production of oil and gas. So these are the advantages of complete mapping of sedimentary basin will bring in. And the project, this is very, very important, okay. In India, who is implementing this complete mapping of sedimentary basins? It has been done through two important PSUs, that is Oil India Limited as well as ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, with an estimated cost of nearly 3,000 crore. So this is a very important initiative, that is complete mapping of sedimentary basins. Who implement it? OIL and ONGC, and 26 sedimentary basins. Keep this in mind, 48% of this total sedimentary basin we don't have adequate geoscientific data. Very important for you. Next initiative is, we have a new hydrocarbon, we call short form is HELP, Hydrocarbon Exploration and Licensing Policy. So recently, so the UPSC can ask like this, okay, HELP, which was in news recently, is associated with what? It is associated with hydrocarbon. Okay, so HELP is Hydrocarbon Exploration and Licensing Policy. That is short form of HELP, means expansion of HELP. Now, what is the speciality of this policy? This policy for hydrocarbon exploration is different from the earlier in the sense that this policy, that is HELP policy for hydrocarbon sector, requires only single license. Only single license for exploration and production of conventional as well as non-conventional hydrocarbon sources. Earlier, for conventional sources as well as for non-conventional sources exploration, the company used to have different licenses. Now that have been changed to single license is required if you are exploring conventional or non-conventional hydrocarbons resources. That is the first important feature of this policy. Second is very important policy, that this policy have introduced a licensing system, what is called as open acreage licensing system, to select the exploration blocks without waiting for formal bid round. UPSC can ask this: what do you mean by open acreage licensing system? See, earlier, if a company who used to explore and produce natural, so this hydrocarbon, when they can do is that only when, so earlier licensing is given to a company only when the government come up with a formal bidding. The government will select certain field and will come for official bidding. So only those area where the government have announced bidding, to that area only the private company can come and bid. Now that have been changed under the open acreage licensing system, in the sense that under open acreage system, licensing system, a private company can approach the government and tell that they are interested to explore a particular certain area which have not been announced by the government. And once the government took this, take the initiative, means what the government will accept the proposal, and then what the government will do, the government will announce a bidding round for that particular area which have been approached by this private company, and after the bidding, a licensing will be given for the best bidder. So earlier, what happened is that only during the bidding time, only when the government come up with a bidding process only, this licensing will be approved. But here things have changed. If a private company feels that a particular area is having high potential, and if they have data which is not there with the government, they can approach the government and can go for they can go for approval from the government, and the government will be more liberal, and they'll come with a transparent system of bidding, and based on the bidding, the project or the licensing will be given. So this is what is called as open acreage licensing system, which is an important feature of HELP. So open acreage licensing system help to select the exploration blocks. So it will help to select the exploration blocks without waiting for a formal bid round. No formal bid round is required. Okay, anytime anyone can apply, and the government will start the bidding process for that particular area. So this is the second. So single license, one feature. Second feature is open acreage licensing system. Third feature is there will be a simple and easy to administer revenue sharing model. So the revenue sharing model under this HELP policy is simple and easy to administer. So these are the three features under HELP policy, or hydro exploration and licensing policy. So it promotes exploration as well as easy licensing norms as well as revenue sharing model. And there will be a national data repository about hydrocarbon. There will be a national data repository about hydrocarbon. And this, once it is developed, or it has already been developed, so this national data repository will support the process, this HELP process or HELP policy, by providing quality data on the prospectivity of the basins to the investors. So this national data repository will give the investors a quality data regarding the prospectivity of these sedimentary basins. So based on the quality data or the data from the national repository, the investors can bid for it. So that's regarding hydrocarbon exploration and licensing policy. Now then another new policy which was the government have introduced in 2016, or called by the name Discovered Small Field Policy. So this is small field policy. So under this discovered small field policy, the government have a very important objective. This is one of the most important point to be noted down. The government want to reduce India government by increasing the domestic production of hydrocarbons. The Indian government want to reduce India's energy imports by 10% by 2022. So one important goal, okay, regarding the hydrocarbon sector, one of the goals, so like we have, the government have many goals, for example, housing for all, electricity for all. Like that, we also have another goal in relation to this petroleum sector and hydrocarbon sector. The government want to reduce imports by 10% by 2022. So as part of it, so these are all these initiatives have been taken with that consideration. 31 contracts, that is 23 on land and 8 offshore, were signed for awarded fields under this discovered small field bid round 2016. So under this round, small fields will be given and it has been approved and it has been signed. Okay. So the production from these contract area under the small field will supplement the domestic production of crude oil and natural gas. Just have an idea what is this discovered small field policy, where the government will encourage small fields also for so that even new players can bid for it, and already new players have been come for this. 31 contracts have been signed under this discovered small field policy, and it will even this small field also will supplement our domestic production of crude oil and natural gas. It's compared to other this help, it's not that important, but just have an idea. The government have a policy called discovered small field policy. Another important area under petroleum and natural gas, that is, the government is setting up a national gas grid. National gas grid is nothing but a long pipeline, gas pipeline network. Okay, so as part of this national gas grid, the government have envisaged developing an additional. So under the national gas grid program, the government is going to come up with an additional 15,000 kilometer long pipeline network. This national gas grid is creating an additional 15,000 kilometer pipeline network to have an ecosystem of, to have a national gas grid in the country. So the national gas grid has a project where an additional 15,000 gas pipeline network will be set up in our country. Now as part of this national gas grid, a very important project have started in September 2016 by Gas Authority of India Limited, or GAIL. This is one of the most important component under national gas grid. You can expect a question under this, what is called by the name Pradhanmantri Ujjwala project, or Ujjwala natural gas project, or Pradhanmantri Ujjwala of Eastern India. Okay, so basically this Pradhanmantri Ujjwala is a part of this national gas grid, and it is implemented by GAIL, Gas Authority of India Limited, and already the government have given a partial capital grant to GAIL to develop this. So under this Ujjwala, the pipeline connection, that kilometers covered will be 2,650 kilometer, and this pipeline will extend from Jagdishpur, Haldia and Bokara and Damra pipeline. That's why this pipeline project is also called by JHBDPL. JH means Jagdishpur Haldia, BD is Bokaro Damra pipeline natural gas project. Okay, so this Jagdishpur Haldia Bokara Damra pipeline project is called as Ujjwala natural gas project. Okay, now this pipeline project or Ujjwala will connect the eastern part of the country with national gas grid. This Ujjwala will connect the eastern part of the country with national gas grid and will ensure availability of clean and eco-friendly fuel, that is natural gas. So this pipeline is for natural gas pipeline, which will provide clean and eco-friendly natural gas to industry, commercial sector, domestic and transport sector in 5 states. This is another very important fact. Already we have solved a model question. We have released a model question on Ujjwala natural gas project. You can watch it. Okay, but just have an idea which are the 5 states through which this Ujjwala project is being implemented. They are the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal. Five states are there. And this project will also have city gas distribution in 7 cities in the first phase. And these pipeline projects will also support the revival of 3 fertilizer plants in Gorakhpur, UP, Eastern UP, Barauni, Bihar and Sindri, Jharkhand along the route of these pipeline projects. So, Urj Ganga, which is a part of this national gas grid, is very, very important for your prelims. Next is another very important scheme under petroleum and natural gas sector. We call that scheme as PAHAL or Pratyaksh Hastantrit Labh. Okay, that is in short form we call it as PAHAL. Pratyaksh Hastantrit Labh or PAHAL scheme. So basically it is a direct benefit transfer scheme. PAHAL is a direct benefit transfer scheme. Okay, so basically under this PAHAL scheme, the subsidy, the LPG subsidy, liquefied petroleum gas subsidy, LPG cylinders subsidy will be transferred to the beneficiary account. So the survey says that it is a good measure, it's a measure of good governance, so that the subsidy is well targeted to the LPG consumers through PAHAL. And this is a very, very, very important point. This PAHAL scheme is aimed at rationalizing subsidies. Okay, this term is very important. Okay, many times in economy, this term have been come for prelims question. Okay, rationalizing in 2016 prelims, this word was there, rationalizing subsidies. In 2015 prelims was also there. Rationalizing subsidies will help in controlling the budget deficit, okay, or to reduce the revenue expenditure. So this initiative is aimed at rationalizing subsidies based on an approach. We have an approach under PAHAL scheme, that is to cut subsidy leakages, but not subsidies themselves. Okay, this is a very, very, very important point to be noted down under PAHAL scheme. The aim of this scheme is to cut subsidy leakages, not the subsidy themselves, not to cut the subsidy themselves, but rather to cut the subsidy leakages. So it is basically the scheme is rationalizing subsidies. It ensures only the targeted beneficiary is getting this benefit subsidy, LPG subsidy. And as per the economic survey data, which covered till October 2017, it says that around 19 crore LPG consumers have joined this direct benefit transfer scheme or PAHAL scheme. And what is important for you is that this PAHAL has entered into the Guinness Book of World Records, being the largest direct benefit transfer scheme. PAHAL have entered into Guinness record being the largest direct benefit transfer scheme. So that's the reason why this scheme is very, very important for you. And so far 57,000 crore have been transferred directly into the bank accounts of the customers under the PAHAL scheme. These are the important points. Please note down, very important for you. And the last topic, which is again an important scheme, what is called as Pradhanmantri Ujjwala Yojana. Pradhanmantri Ujjwala Yojana. I strongly believe this year you will get a question from Pradhanmantri Ujjwala Yojana. Heading it from the heading itself, you get it's nothing but this Pradhanmantri Ujjwala Yojana is nothing but providing LPG connection to BPL houses. Providing LPG connections to BPL houses. Okay, this keyword is providing BPL houses. This LPG connection will be provided free to BPL houses. Now, under this Pradhanmantri Ujjwala Yojana, initially 5 crore LPG connections were planned. 5 crore, initially 5 crore LPG connections were targeted to be provided to BPL families. So, initially it was 5 crore LPG connections, but in this year's budget, that is budget 2018-19, have increased the target from 5 crore to 8 crore because of its success. So now the target is, so economic survey is not mentioning for 8 crore, economic survey is mentioning only 5 crore, but I have updated from the budget. Now it is, the target is 8 crore, depending upon the question. Okay, So if it says that in the financial year 2017-18, if the target is 5 crore, that is correct. Only in the financial year 18-19 only, in the budget 2018-19 only, it have increased the target to 8 crore. So don't get confused with this data of 5 crore and 8 crore. 8 crore are introduced in this budget 2018-19 only. So LPG connection, in here, the government is providing only free LPG connections, not free LPG throughout the period, okay, no, just it will be providing free LPG connection, and the cost of the LPG connection, that is 1600. So the government estimates around 1600 for getting a new LPG connection, and for BPL houses, this 1600 will be given free of cost by the government, and the target to be achieved that year is 2018-19. So by 2018-19, we want the LPG connections to be reached by 8 crore. And in this scheme, the focus will be on those particular states and union territories which is having LPG coverage less than national average. States and union territories whose LPG coverage is less than national average. The national average for LPG connection is 61%. So the focus of the scheme will be basically on those states and union territories which are having LPG connections below the national average of 61% as on the date 2016. Now, the scheme is aimed at replacing the unclean cooking fuels, mostly used in rural India, with clean and more efficient LPG, that is liquefied petroleum gas. Now, very important point about this scheme, the connections are released in the name of adult woman member of the family. Okay, the connection under the scheme is given under the woman member of the family having no LPG connection earlier, either in the, so BPL, so adult woman member of BPL family having no LPG connection either in the name of beneficiary or any other family members. But be very clear, this will be given to adult woman member of a BPL family who is having no LPG connection either on their own beneficiary themselves or within the family. So this scheme is applicable to BPL household, that too the BPL household which is having no LPG connection earlier. And the data says that during April-October 2017 period, around 1.86 crore new LPG connections have been released. Out of that, 1.05 crore connection have been given under this Pradhanmantri Ujjwala Yojana, which is a 70% target, yearly target of 1.5 crore. So the government is having a yearly target of 1.5 crore. Now, as of now, till October 2017, the government under this scheme, around 3 crore or 3.75 crore new LPG connections have been provided under this scheme. It's all data only. Just have an idea about it. But what is important for you is this LPG adult woman member. Now the earlier target was 5 crore, now it is 8 crore. Very important scheme. We have covered this scheme in our model question discussion. But you give importance to the economic survey, what economic survey have been covered. So that's all regarding petroleum and natural gas. Thank you.